All right, all right, all right. It's Saturday night. Therefore, it's Saturday night shoot the breeze. I want to thank everyone who's here already. I see Daily Affirmations by Pauline is out there saying good evening. I want to thank everyone who's here already. I want to thank everyone who will be here during the course of the evening. And I want to thank in advance all my panelists and everyone who participates in the chat. Also, want to shout out you guys who do listen to the playback. Several of you have reached out to me over time and told me that you tune into the playback when you can't make it live. So I appreciate all of you and all of that. If you hear my voice, please drop a one. Let me know that. I'm being heard over the digital airwaves of YouTube, as Stephen A. Smith would say. Let me know you can hear me out there. You know the deal. I want to come on here and give you guys a heads up as to what kind of things we'll be discussing tonight. And I gotta say, okay, so Trigger Happy 262 Plus is out there saying peace, peace. He also dropped a one. Let me know you can hear me. I gotta say, we really didn't have a lot of submissions for Shoot the Breeze tonight. So if you don't mind, if you haven't already, join the Discord. The link is in the description of this video. Join the Discord. Navigate to the podcast episode side of the Discord. And under it, you'll see a Shoot the Breeze channel where you can post topics that you have interest in discussing or at least hearing discussions on those topics. So make sure you join the Discord. Post as many topics as you'd like. Always post a prompt as well as an attachment. It could be an attachment to Twitter or YouTube, or TikTok or whatever, Instagram. Try to avoid Disney. You guys may have noticed our last episode of Shoot the Breeze got taken down because of Disney. So try to avoid the ABC News, the Disney, those types of things, because they will get a strike, which it did get me last week. And I'm still working on trying to be able to live stream from the KWAZ radio website. So if you guys have any insight on how to do that, let me know so that I can start hosting this show in my own little neck of the woods and not have to worry about YouTube and YouTube shenanigans as far as copyright strikes and whatnot. And if bb2me.com or bb2me.tv, if their functionality is up to par where we can do live streams, let me know. I was reached out by one of Obadale Cameron's team, wanted to do an interview, so look out for that sometime soon. I haven't heard back. I responded. I haven't heard back from you guys. So you guys let me know if you're still interested in doing the interview, etc. So what we have in store tonight is we're going to try to answer, we're going to look at the scenario and try to answer, is this why they stopped teaching home economics? Wagwan, should it be taught in schools? I guess that sounds like a UK type issue. We're going to try to answer, some women starving. I saw this prompt some weeks back, maybe months ago. Very interesting stuff. And we're going to try to answer, is there a bias in police shootings? So you see, that's 4. And we have one more about a metaphor. I'm not sure what the story is, but we're going to look at it and see if it's a metaphor. And if it is, a metaphor of what? So those are the topics that we have in store tonight. Again, we need more topics for Shoot the Breeze in the future. I think I've just used up all of the ones that were there that had a prompt. So join the Discord, navigate the Shoot the Breeze channel, post your prompt as well as an attachment. Like I said, it could be any social media, pretty much a news article. Try to avoid ABC News. Try to avoid FIFA. Try to avoid Disney. they do get a strike, and they got my last episode taken down. All right. With that said, let's start the show officially. And on the other side, I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all panelists that should come up. Do stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio.
Yes, indeed. Also, make sure you're checking out Brother Bakari. He was on earlier today. Check out Brother Bakari. Check out the Forecast Radio, as well as Realm in the Bush. They tend to do some crossover stuff every week. So check them out. Check out everyone who's around here who has a YouTube channel. Check out Kofi the Black Critic, who's become a regular as of late. He had an interesting live stream this past week. He was on someone else's channel, and they were talking about FBA and stuff like that. And I think the topic might have been like and dislike Tariq. That might have been a part of the topic, but it was an interesting conversation. It was an interesting conversation. So make sure to check out his channel as well. With all that said, let me welcome in my first panelist tonight. That'll be Bwana Hagaziki. Bwana, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Coco?
I'm good, Bwana. I'm good. Bwana came in with a serious tone. Okay.
No. I was thinking, Coco. I was thinking, that interview with Brother Obadele Camborne should be an interesting one. Are you going to open that up to listeners for questioning and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay. That should be an interesting one. That should be a very interesting one. You know. But, yeah. But I'm good though. I'm good. I was just thinking. I was just in thought as you were saying that, and I was thinking, how could you structure that, and where you could get all the questions that you need to ask, because I'm sure a lot of people have questions for him, and living in Ghana and being a professor in Ghana, and a lot of his ideas as well. I think that a lot of his ideas have taken center stage in Ghana and also throughout the Black world, really, because a lot of people have been listening to him. So I'll be very interested to see how that interview runs. Very interested.
Yes, sir. People emailed me and I said, yeah, I'm interested. What would you like to discuss? I haven't heard back yet to my knowledge. I'll check my email later and see. But when I do find out what he wants to discuss, what I'll do, I'll post a little forum on the Discord. And anyone who wants, based on the topic, anyone who has questions, post your questions, and I'll definitely ask I'll ask them during the interview, but I'll also open up the interview. I'll do a live stream. I'll open it up to viewers like you guys to come on.
Has he been listening? Has he been listening to the show, Koku? You know?
I don't know that
Okay.
for certain, but I know one of his people is on the Discord, and that's who reached out to me to do the interview. So I know you have some people that do listen, a few people. I don't know if he listens personally, but we'll see. I'll ask him. Trigger Happy says another Campbell interview. That's dope. Yeah. I'm trying to finalize that one. Brother Bakari's out there saying peace and Black Power family. So right now, Buana, it's just me and you, but that's fine. We got a couple people in the chat. What I'll do is I'll drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 now. And anyone who wants to join, click the link pinned to the top of the chat. And you too can be a panelist on tonight's Shoot the Breeze. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. All right. So Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 is this a metaphor? And if it is, of what? Shout out to Yana B. I haven't seen you in a minute, Yana. Yana B is out there. Shout out to all the ladies who at least who used to be around here regularly. Shout out to all of you, man. I appreciate all of you. This came with a link that taken us to Twitter. And this tweet from Timeless Praise, which says, hold on a second. This tweet from Timeless Praise, which says, it's so satisfying to watch. Let's my apologies to anyone who might be triggered by rodents and triggered by struggling rodents, for that matter. So you saw what the video was about. Is this a metaphor? And if it is a metaphor, what's it a metaphor of? I'll just quickly say the obvious. It's one of those read the rooms type of things to me. You must analyze what's going on and don't make the same missteps. Just out of curiosity, let me see what folks have to say to it. Someone from Jamaica says you have to be a psychopath if this is satisfying. Someone said LMAO, and they say they're smart. Okay. Someone says that's what the fat one gets for being all nasty, fat, and dirty. Someone laughs out loud. Someone says ick. Someone says this is why I doubt some animals communicate. Someone else says too many unwanted guests in that house. Some people find it funny. Some people say nah. So what do you guys in the chat say to this? What is this a metaphor? and of what? I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts out there in the chat. In the meantime, let's welcome in our boy, Brother Bakari, this week. Brother Bakari, how are you?
I'm great, man. How about you and Bawana in the chat? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. We got you loud
Yes,
and clear.
yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. I'm great. I'm great, man. How y'all doing?
I'm
Good,
good.
good, good, good.
So let me ask you. When I was watching this, was this a real vid where the rats fighting over food,
No,
or
So,
no.
because what I
yeah, no.
saw,
It's like someone baited a glue trap with some meat, and they had a little, like, put it in a box, and they let these rats get caught in the glue trap.
oh,
So first
okay.
there was one who got caught, then a big one came and got caught, then another two came and got caught. So the prompt is this a metaphor, and if so, of what?
Well, the first, okay, I'm gonna tell you what I saw for the reason I asked that question. Because the first thing it did was make me think about the rat project. That's why I asked that question. They have done several projects using rats. But the first, because then you see the big one rat is standing over another rat, and I thought they were fighting. Even where you have it now, you see that where the one is standing over the other.
Yeah.
So what I thought it was the rat project when and they said this talking about how they did the projects, and they used that trying to talk about us was how, and I saw that piece of meat in there, and I said the rats fighting. It's the rat project. That's what I thought. So the first thing came to my mind was they used the meat. They've been feeding the rats 3 times a day, and the rats wasn't fighting because this was the project. So then they go to twice a day. Each rat was getting their own food. So now they put them in, uh, and they just giving one piece of meat once a day. Now the biggest, strongest rat is going because this is what came through my mind. 'Cause that's why I was asking. Now the biggest, strongest rat is going to eat that meat, and once it finished, if anything is left, the others can eat. Now to continue that project, what they did was they stopped feeding the rats all together to see what happened. So the bigger, stronger rat start killing they would kill the smaller rats and they would eat the other rats. And they used that saying, and they also going into this box. So this is what went through my mind. So they used that saying, that's how they did black people in the projects. You gave them this, you made them live on top of one another, then you don't give them nothing. So you put them in a position to kill each other for survival. And that what came to my mind. And since that was on my mind, I can't even take away from what you said. Is it a metaphor? But it's still like they going through a hole in a box, in a door, like a house, and you're trapped. Similar to what some people might feel their goal is to get out of the projects, but they feel like they're trapped. I'm just still trying to put it together. But that was my first thoughts. And on that, I yield.
I appreciate it, Bakari. If y'all are interested, what Bakari was talking about was the Calhoun experiments, the Calhoun 21, I think it was called, experiments, where they basically put rodents in a situation much like what Bakari described, but overall it was like a projects like scenario where they didn't have certain amount of space, individual space. They lack resources, this, that, and the other, and they found that uh, the rats or mice started to cannibalize one another. But what was really interesting, they found that birth rates started to drop, and a lot of homosexuality, if you will, amongst rodents arose. And a lot of people have linked that study to real life issues with black folks, like in the ghettos and in the projects and stuff like that. So you guys can look that up. I believe I read that paper on air. If not, though, I'm sure you can find it online.
And let me say one more thing. Let me say one more thing before you pass it. In what you were just saying, because this is what I wanted to say. I ain't trying to take your time, Awana. I apologize, man. But they also what they did was what they found out. So when we talk about how we will do drive-bys or whatever to hurt one another, because they used it trying, like you just said, trying to compare it to us in projects, the ghettos or whatever. But what they also did was they found out the biggest, stronger rat would be the best rat killer. They continued it later, and they kept on. I don't know if you saw this part too, and they just kept putting rats in there, and he'll kill it and eat it. So then, when they let those rats go, they put them in an area where they put a monitor on them so they could keep up with them. And those rats, the only food they looked for was other rats because they got so used to eating them. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't peep that part. I'm gonna go back and, cause I think people add to that study every year. I think people cite it and then do other work to kind of add to the knowledge base. So I'm gonna look that up again. That's an interesting thing. In the chat, Harsh Ready Podcast, that's D Web, says Pete's fam. Salute to the panel. Hope everyone is doing well. Yana B says no, people got too much time on their hands. Arthur came in and he said it's a metaphor for capitalism / black excellence. Very interesting. Very interesting. I can see that with the meat being there, and then you get stuck. He said the Western prize or success. He says, hope you all are well. He said, I heard someone say the other day, no one wins a fight. The winner avoids the fight. Before that, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, no teamwork, read the room, foreshadowing. So that's his ideas of what the metaphor might be. Buana, you heard Bakari, you heard me, sort of chat. What say you?
Yeah, for me, when I see this, I see a metaphor for insanity. Insanity. What's the saying go? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. Now, mice, they live in a family. They're supposed to be able to communicate. They're supposed to work as one. Usually, I don't see ants doing this, making the same kind of mistake. But needless to say, you would think that one of the mice will say, tell the other mice when he gets stuck, hey, don't come in here. Don't come in here. This is a trap. This is a trap. You have to avoid the room. Screaming, however mouses communicate, rats communicate. Don't come in here. Don't come in here. But instead of that, it's like, it's like they continue to make the same error over after over again. Were they seeing themselves as individuals? They didn't see the other rat. And what happened to him? They didn't learn from his actions what not to do. All of them committing the same act. And to me, if I put on my Pan-African spectacles, when you look at our countries and how our countries are governed, you would see us committing the same mistakes over and over and over again, not learn from mistakes of the people who would have came before us. You know what I mean? And it's like you have a whole history of the mistakes that our forebears would have made. And they shouting and screaming and saying, hey, don't come this way. This is a mistake. And we ignore them and we continue on the same path as they did. For instance, this whole, well, I ain't gonna get into that. I'm saying that we make the same mistakes over and over again. So for me, it's a metaphor for insanity. You know what I mean? Doing the same thing over and over again, still trying to get a different result from your other brothers who get stuck in the same trap you will get stuck in, trying to reach this proverbial stake, as Arthur Reserve said correctly. Well, he made a metaphor in saying that it's the stake, but in a greater metaphor, it's the price of success. It's the white picket fence. It's $1 million life savings check. Cashing out. You doing this, making the same kind of errors, and you getting stuck in the quagmire of life. And yet, while your life's gonna be depleted trying to reach this stake, but eventually you gonna get stuck in the quagmire and you will die starving, looking at the stake, but never even to have tasted it or even reached the stake. And you could have avoided the whole situation by not even coming in the friggin' room. You know what I mean? Maybe find the rat room, because rats don't naturally supposed to eat steak. Why are rats eating steak? Find your own food source. And if you find your own food source, maybe the attraction towards a steak wouldn't be as attractive, because rats are not supposed to eat steak. You know what I mean? Find your food source so you wouldn't commit the same errors over and over again. It all come back to what Gavi them was talking about. You know what I mean? Doing for self, discovering what's yours, what's actually supposed to be yours. First of all, a rat is not supposed to, is unnaturally supposed to be in a box. That's number one. It's unnaturally trying to, supposed to try to chase after something like steak. You know what I mean? It's not as a natural food source of a rat. So why are you going after that? And why are you going into this little small room trying to achieve these kinds of things? Find a rat space and find a rat food source. And maybe the results may be different. But instead, all of these rats commit the same error over and over again. And to me, it's a metaphor for insanity. But that's what I see when I look at this particular poem.
I appreciate it. Let me ask a follow-up question. While I'm kind of touching a little bit, what about this hunger, though? Like I'll admit sometimes I will ignore the hunger of people. Meaning, and I still stand on it. I condemn.
You're breaking up, Coco. You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So I sometimes ignore the hunger because you should make better choices. So for example, I don't give people a pass who sell poison to their own people in their neighborhoods by their drugs and all kind of stuff, right? But what about that hunger that says, man, I know this is probably a trap, but I gotta eat. And there is a meal right here. How do we get around that? Now, what I'm touching on said, go and find what's for you. Right? Supposed to eat grain and stuff like that, right? Go and find what's really for you. But how do you guys speak to this metaphor? To the folks who are engaging in things that's obviously a trap. How would you speak to them using this video to get them to make better decisions, I guess? I'll start with one.
Okay, so I'll start first with my community. I don't know if Brother Bakari wanted to go because he was breaking up, but I'll start with my community first. Within my community, sometimes you see very young women giving birth to kids. You know, that's been a long tradition, you know, within the Bahamian community. You see these young girls around, and they used to go to certain schools because they couldn't go to formal school anymore because they was pregnant. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if your mother went through the same kinds of situations, and look at how she had the struggle raising you. This is, I mean, it's an example close to home. Look at your family dynamic, where you have to struggle so much because you have so many children so early. You have little skill, you know what I mean? So, and you could barely survive and provide for yourself and others. Maybe if you make a commitment to doing other kinds of things, maybe if you look around in a big world, who wins? Is it the person who have children very early, or is it the person who stall having children right now, try to get some skill that they can market and sell and make a little bit more money? Do you want to work in a grocery store as a cashier for your entire existence? I mean, the examples are out here. You just look at the big broad world and really see what kind of situation you want going on. Do you want to live that fast money, that fast lifestyle? The cemetery is full of young people. Just look at the obituary, full of young men who cash out very early, trying to get that money fast. You're gonna do it just like them? What excludes you, or will prevent you from having the same results that they would have lived? Why are you so special in the dynamic? Because you're young and you're impetuous and you think that you will live forever. You never been in any situations before. You see these scenarios over and over, repeated over. I would take a young person to the courthouse. I would take a young man to the courthouse and just sit in the courthouse for a while to see people who look just like him being shuffled out of buses into a courtroom, shuffled back into the court. I would take them to see for themselves. Take them to the prisons. People who look just like them. Let them tell them their story. Take them to the hospitals. You know, there's examples all around you, real tangible examples, and give the person a choice. Do you want to live this existence? Or in one hand, here's this life, and in another hand, here's this life. And even if you have to have sex, even if you have to do certain things, take care of yourself. Go get birth control if you believe in them kind of things. You know what I mean? Try to forestall certain things. There are practical examples all around us in our communities that you could avail young people to show people this is the dynamic. You could either have this or you could have that, and choose for yourself. But after you choose, certainly don't blame others for the short-term decisions that you would have made. If you make your bed, you have to be ready and able to lay in that bed, even if it was a bad mistake. And I don't fault people for making bad mistakes and bad decisions. It's just sometimes for some people it takes a longer time to recover from bad decisions that they make. So I would just avail people, the young people, to instances that we see every day within our community. Take them to the courthouse. Take them to see the young girls having to get $30 or $80 a child support from a man who get them pregnant and left and don't have no money to give them because they don't have no job. Take them to show them the hospital, a hospital full of young girls with no dads, all these young guys with sugar on the tongues who promise these young girls, I will be with you forever, no matter what. And soon as they get the whatever, they left. And it's only the little girl and the mother who's around to actually do the day-to-day providing and taking care of her children and rearing children. Show them the practical life examples and then give them an alternative. And let them choose for themselves, man. Children are not stupid. Sometimes adults, it's questionable. But children ain't stupid. They're reasonable. Reason with them with real life examples. And I would say give them the decision and the choice to make. And life is yours. Life is yours, man. But I'll leave it. I'm ranting a bit.
Well, Yana B says you're not making a good point with that, Yana. No, sir. So I'm not sure what it was. Yana doesn't agree. Yana, if you have a chance to come up, click the link, come on up before we move on to the next one. If not, just post your thoughts in the chat. I'll read it live on here. All right, then she says, fathers make money. Where are the fathers for these kids? Why not marry the young girl they impregnate? Asperger says, we don't have time to judge those in error. We can recruit, we can educate. Awareness is an inside job in the presence of information. That's an interesting take. He says, it is unsurprising that people are going in the wrong directions. We have to continue to build the correct examples. I hope my audio is better. I don't know what's going on with it, but I hope it's better. Bakari, what are you? Oh, Bakari left? Oh, my bad. Looks like Bakari left. I was hoping to get Bakari's thoughts on that.
No, I am committed to dual relationships as it deals with rearing kids, and that's the ideal. I would say that's the ideal, but I also deal with in the practical world that I live in, and I don't usually see that. It's sometimes there's a dominance of where females run their houses or rear the kids. So I try to deal with life as it is, not as we would like it to be. And I wouldn't just speak to young girls. I would also speak to young men as well. Young men need to be able to have a choice. They need to be able to see the world more broadly than they usually do. The world is bigger than they perceive it to be. And I think that given an opportunity and a chance, and giving themselves a chance, I think that you'll have a different kind of result. You know what I mean? You don't have to rob and steal and stick up dudes to make money. It's always another way, I think. Koku, if you're talking, I think that you're on mute if you're speaking, brother.
Did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay. All right. I tried to fix the audio. I don't know what's going on. Buddy, you want to finish your thought there?
Yeah. I was finished my thought. Maybe on the next prompt, if you have time, maybe you could go ahead and come back in, and maybe the thing will be a little bit better. Yeah, Arthur Reserve. It might even be higher than that. It might even be higher than that. And unfortunately, the percentage of the people who have jackets. Hey, it's a fortunate thing that some of them men who wearing jackets decide to wear them, because for the men who don't who will be accused of being a father, that don't necessarily mean they'll stay around. They're like, the hell with this. I'm not taking care of a child. So I would say for the 34 men who actually wear the jackets, I would say bravo to them brothers, man, because they don't have to. They don't have to. They don't have to. I wouldn't want to wear I wouldn't want to wear a jacket from a woman who accuses me of something that I may not necessarily be guilty of. So I feel you on that, though. I feel you on that. But our morals is something that we should work on. That's something and principles we need to work on. But I think that first and foremost, we need to really define what they are, define what our morals and principles are. And even if that may be something that's different than what we actually know, I think that we need to define what our morals and principles are.
I appreciate it. Wow. Want to shoot the race topic number 2. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Shoot the topic number 2 tonight says, is I stop teaching home ec. So this came with a link that's going to take us to YouTube. I'll get my screen as soon as it comes up for me. I got to figure out what's all these problems I have with the internet. All right, so this comes a 10-minute video. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss it. So, in case there's audio only listeners to this episode, we just watched a video for about 10 minutes that showed how to create a pellet gun using balsa wood and glue, and some, common home materials. And they showed you from start to scratch how to make this thing. And then at the end, they demonstrate its uses. You could shoot BBs. You could modify some nails to shoot projectiles as nails. You could even add more like arrow tips and stuff like that. And so this prompt basically allowed us to see this person create this thing. But the prompt asks, is this why they stopped teaching home ec? Now, the funny thing for me, I've never done a home ec class in my life. When I was in school back home, we had a class called woodwork, which this kind of work that the guy did would have fallen under. But apparently in home ec, and I guess in America, home ec includes milling classes. I did not know that. I'm familiar. The times I can remember home ec being mentioned home, it was more so about cooking, sewing, things of that nature. So that's why So it's very interesting to see. I guess in America, home ec included this kind of stuff. But this video reminded me of something too. I realized a long time ago when I used to work closer around white folks that most of them grow up around tools. They grow up around machinery, milling machines and things of that. Most of them actually go camping and all this kind of stuff. And it's very interesting to watch. Whereas you turn to some black folks, and this is not a put down, it's just observation. You turn to some black folks and say, hand me a Phillips screwdriver, and they don't know what you're talking about. So it is something worthwhile us doing in our homes, at least getting back into crafts, getting back into, doing those small tasks like plumbing and carpentry and stuff in the home. So that's just something to think about. Yana B said that's crazy. We got Kofi the Black Critic out there saying, hey, family, peace to Kofi. Like I said, check out his channel and check out the last live stream that he did with a panel talking about FBA. Make sure to tune in. You know what? Let's introduce our boy Black Steel this week. Black Steel, how are you?
I'm doing great, Kahu. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for
No problem. So I saw this prompt. I'm a little confused because first of all, this is not something you would teach in home economics. Home economics teaches you how to cook, manage a household, how to create a budget, things like that. This isn't something you would necessarily learn in home ec. Um, but the question is why they stopped teaching home ec. They never stopped teaching home economics. It's probably called something different. I took home economics back in ninth grade, but it's called something different now. But they still teach it. It's still an elective. This is something that you would learn in woodworking, but I'm looking at this weapon they made, which is an interesting weapon. I mean, something like that. I don't know if you could get it past a metal detector or not. Possibly, I doubt it. Um, but it's good to have little skills like that. But I mean, this is more, I would think, of something that's just like something to play with. I wouldn't put this up against a real firearm because look at you got to load it by hand. You can maybe fire one shot. It's just something I think is more of a almost like compared like a BB gun, like a toy. But yeah, people do. They still take home economics. Home ec hasn't stopped anytime soon. It's still a pretty regular class. But this isn't something they would teach. They would teach it more in woodworking. But yeah, you wouldn't make woodworking do something like this in woodworking class. Definitely get you a suspension for having something like this in school because it could be potentially dangerous. Any type of weapon. I yeah, the prompt to me just seemed a little bit, faulty. The premise seems a little faulty because they still teach home ec in school, and this isn't something they would teach you in home ec. Another thing too, you found this video on YouTube, so you wouldn't even need a class in school to do this because the information is so widely available. There's plenty of information you can find. Then if you go, say, for example, to the dark web, they can teach you how to make things 10 times worse than this. So that's the problem with knowledge because sometimes knowledge can be a curse or it can be a blessing. It really depends on how you choose to use it in your day-to-day life. So I'll leave it there. Thanks, Coco.
Appreciate that, Black Celia. Something you said is true. A little biblical wisdom says you don't throw pearls to swine. And that's the problem with knowledge is that, and this is why historically you'll find like only elites and certain people have knowledge because if you give it to just every and any old buddy, they'll do dumb stuff with it. And taint it too. They'll taint it too. One thing I'll say though, and I talked about this before, but I came into some PDFs some years ago, where these white folks, particularly these white nationalist types, they disseminate plans like how they have this on YouTube now. Back in the day, they was making mock-ups of stuff like this, believe it or not. High-powered slingshots, high-powered BB guns, zip guns, those pipe guns and all that kind of stuff. That the nail, the tip of the nail just has to hit the butt of the bullet and it'll fire it off from a pipe. Like they be making, plastique and all sorts of shit in their houses. Sometimes we don't get it, but you check out the local news in some of these places like Texas, backwoods and all that stuff. These guys are killing themselves making fertilizer bombs and all kinds of stuff, right? But what I will give them, and even the people in this video, they tinker. I don't know if we tinker like that anymore. I'm just gonna be real. I don't know the last time I've ran into a black person who had a little shop, if you will, in the back of the house, and he tinkered or she tinkered. And I think that's something we should have in our back pocket. We should be tinkerers. We should always be studying, even in matters of mechanical and electrical and stuff like that. So I'll add that. In the chat, KW7 said Phillips screwdriver is the X, LMAO, but I am trained as a millwright and stationary engineer. Wow, that's good to know. Wow, that's cool. He says they pull the skilled trades from high schools in the U.S. So I don't know if Black Steel would say the same thing, Brother Bakari.
I would say that. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? It depends on where you go to school at, right? So if you go to school in, say, for a relatively rural area, like the school I work at, they have welding, they have auto mechanics, they have, you can get your welding license. But then if you go to certain school, which notably is many schools that have a majority Black population, they don't have those trades in there. And I've noticed that where it depends on where the school is, like they don't want Black children to have avenues outside of just work, going to school, maybe going to college, which a lot of them aren't really necessarily bound to college or even necessarily want to go to college. But you have to give those options. But I noticed that in a lot of majority of Black schools, they don't have those trades.
Because usually if you have those kinds of trades, you could be entrepreneurial straight out of school, Black Steel. If I am learning a trade like carpentry, like what you suggest in carpentry, mechanics, milling, these soft skill trades, or out of school, you could really and truly, you could just, I don't know, like you say, you could get certifications within school. So right out of school, you could, put up your sign or advertise as a carpenter and start working as a carpenter. You don't necessarily have to go to a corporation to get a suit and tie job. And you can make good money doing that per year, by the way, if you're good at what you're doing. So I understand why they would want to take that out, especially the inner city schools. Take the trades away from them. Take them all away from them. But I think it's when Koku talked about tinkering. If you want to talk to tinkering, you got to talk to the premier Black redneck. Brother Bakari he's listening in right now. He's a brother. My southern brothers, they tinkerers. He'll tell you about the air conditioning he put in his truck. His homemade air conditioning shit. So they are consummate tinkerers, and they know a whole lot of things outside of formal education. Me too. I pride myself for doing a little bit of tinkering from time to time because I question the world that I live in. So I experiment, I read, I try to review. YouTube has been a big teacher for me in a lot of different things. So I do tinker too when I have the time to do so. And I think that there is an importance to that because we did have a culture of invention and innovation. Black people always had a culture of innovation, making something, improving on something that was already there, or even creating something. So we always had some spare thing that we would be working on and tinkering on and trying to improve or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the only thing about that is we didn't own a whole lot of the patents. So we could create these things, but when we actually improve on these items, we didn't go down to the trademarking office or the patent office and say, this is patented by me at this particular date and time. Therefore, you don't get the resources from it, when it's mass produced. But I think that there is an importance in tinkering, no doubt about it. I think that these soft skills are very important. Even watch repair. Watch repair is a big thing that I think that could sustain a family on watch repair and know how to repair watches. Yeah, leather repair, shoe repair. These things are important things to do. Iron smelting, converting your goods in from one product into another product, converting all the precious tools that you may have in your household, melting it down, turning it into rings and chains and things of that nature, knowing how to bend and reformulate metal and things of that nature. These are soft skills that could feed families. You better believe it. And I think that these soft skills are taken out for a reason. These soft skills are taken out for a reason, but I think that they are very important. People who invest their time into these kinds of skills. But I'll leave it to Koku.
Yeah, like I say, and thanks for that, Buana and Black Steel. There was a time you used to know people who used to, you fuck around and you go by them and they built a damn car or bicycle parts and all kinds. Like there was a time you would see it. I just don't see it, and I guess I'm in a bad place to see it now too. New York is probably not the best place to see it, as Buana had suggested. But we all should have the ability to, like for example, like this thing that we're on right now, the computer. Like all of us should be, when we retire a computer, we should be harvesting those parts because all of a computer doesn't go bad. Harvest those parts, get the fans out of them, get the, whatever, the heat sinks, and have those things around. I used to work around this one white guy who was a PhD scientist, but he knew his way around a shop, man. He actually taught me some shit on how to do milling and stuff like that, and how to organize your shop and stuff like that. And I always keep that in mind because it just shows you that they're not, it's not to be one dimensional. You could do several different things. You could have a culture inherent in your families, if for nothing else. You could have a culture in your families that we work on things here. We build, we innovate, we test our limits, we add to our knowledge base, things of that nature. So I just thought that's a good thing to bring up. KW7 in the chat said black youths are still trying to do sports and entertainment. That's a heavy word you're saying there. That's a heavy word you're saying there. And so a lot of other folks are now taking up the trades and stuff like that. He says they are attempting to bridge skilled trades in high school in Canada due to a labor shortage with the baby boomers retiring. And that's something we got to jump on too. With baby boomers starting to get up out of here, our youth especially need to start looking to fill those spaces, having the skills to fill those spaces. Any last words from the panelists on this prompt? If not,
no, I think that you said a good thing. For a last word, I would say to for the brothers who listen and sisters to remember to tinker. On the side after you finish your 8 hours, find a hobby or interest that it could possibly you could come out of your 9 to 5 and do that full time. Don't forget to tinker from time to time. That's what I would say.
Yeah, well said, Juana. Don't forget to tinker. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Don't be afraid to pick up a book on how to cobble shoes or how to sew a shirt or something. That's something we don't talk about enough. We just go in the stores and buy clothing, but it'd be nice if more of us knew how to kind of fix old clothes and fix old shoes and all that kind of thing. KW7 says trades require that you complete an apprenticeship before you become certified. Then you can go on your own as an entrepreneur. So I thought about that too, KW7, when Buana said it. Now, Buana's in a different situation. Where we're from, you could just be a plumber or a carpenter and go get work. Real talk. At least when I was growing up home. Buana could update me if that's changed, but that's how I know it to be too. I know all kind of man fixing roof and all kind of thing.
My Koku, my statement is it's better to apologize sometimes than to ask for permission. So I mean, right. if you don't have the money to get a certification, hey, go to your neighbor, say, y'all need any work? Yeah. The government ain't watching you that. So I mean, sometimes it's better to apologize, if they catch you after the fact, and then to ask for permission. Because if you waiting for these things to all fall in line and fall in place for you, you could go hungry. Closed mouths don't get fed, man. But I'll leave it.
Yes, sir. Jigan is out there say war, family, war. Should be topic number 3 says, does she have a point, or should Wagwan not be taught in schools? This came with a link that's taken us to Twitter. And here's this tweet from the Duchess of Brixton with a Jamaican and Nigerian flag behind it. She says, today at the United Nations, I raised my ongoing concerns on the exclusion and erasure of Black/Creole languages and the prosecution and policing of the use of Black language critique words like quote unquote coon, coconut, et al., and rap music. I ended my intervention with our daily demands. Hashtag free Haiti, free Congo, free Palestine. So let's watch the video. It's a 2.5 minute video. And then
I
we'll
am a
discuss.
criminal defense barrister, a linguistic justice activist, and the founder of 2 civil society organizations, Black Protest Legal Support and BLAM UK. I am also the disruptor of all things white supremacy. My full name is Ife Oluwapo. It is a Yoruba name, which means the love of God is a lot. And in love, I ask you all present today, how you day, wagwan, and bawoni. In In just 5 seconds, I greeted you in Nigerian Pidgin, Jamaican Patois, and Yoruba, breaking up the dominance of English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese in this forum. All the languages and the legacy of the enslavement of African people. The control and battle to eradicate the African tongue has been a key and ever-present feature of the deprived project of white supremacy. Language carries culture, history, and heritage. There can be no cultural rights without language justice rights. In the UK, we have had Black children excluded from school from saying Wagon to their teachers. In some schools, they've explicitly banned Black language practices. Black young people are dragged through the courts in the UK for using rap music, and they also have been dragged through the court for using Black critique terms like coconut and coon, words that we used to call out skin folk that are definitely not king folk. While the same CPS have not prosecuted countless police officers that have murdered and killed many people of African descent. At the 2022 forum, I called a lack of materials and interpreters and interpretations of Black and African language. I questioned how the forum could be accessible to all people of African descent, if not in Black and Afro-descendant languages. How can we say we want civil society to be involved in discussions, yet we don't have any resources created in these languages? So what are my recommendations? My recommendations are the same recommendations I made in 2022. I call for the mandatory translation of UN documents in Creole and Afro-descendant languages, to put the protection of African descendant languages explicitly as part of the new decade, and lastly, to put measures in place to stop the criminalization of Black language practices in the UK. And lastly, we call for a free Haiti, a free Palestine, and a free Congo. We don't want freedom without all of us involved. Thank you.
Is it me or was she kind of hard to follow? She was talking too fast or something was going on there. But that's what she had to say in the chat. TriggerHappy262 Plus says, I'm not a fan of Pidgin. We already have our own languages, to be honest. But its temporary uses is obviously important. So that's Trigger Happy. He's big on the language thing. That's his 2 cents for now. Let me hear from Black Steel. Black Steel, does she have a point? Or should Wagwan not be taught in schools?
So I'm a firm believer that there are some things that African people should keep to themselves, right? I don't want everybody. I guess that's kind of I think is an issue for us because we're so open and we're very xenophilic. You know, we love outsiders. We know we accept them, that we want to share our culture with them. And the reality is, a lot of these people are hostile towards our culture, and they seek only to learn so that they can destroy. So I'm not a fan of letting have everybody have access to our culture, our history, hell, our music and our food. Look what happened when we started letting Europeans and teaching them our music. They take it over and pretend like they created it. So, I mean, in schools, I don't think that's a school's responsibility. I think that's the responsibility of the community, of the culture, of the people. Um, that is something that should be taught within the home, within that society. I don't think we should go and have a textbook and have assignments and you gotta write an essay and picked in and I don't think that's necessary, or Creole. I don't think that's something that is necessary. But I think that kind of we gotta orient our culture towards a culture focused on liberation and not and not assimilation. And I think that when we have um, focus on we focus on assimilation and not we want to show the value of our culture to other people, And I don't think that's necessary. Our culture is already valuable. Whether or not they see it as valuable shouldn't really matter. They don't need to teach it. It's not like in Spanish class or French or German, whatever language you got to learn in high school. This is something that we should teach to our people, our children, keep it within ourselves. And that way that can enrich our culture. To invite too many into our culture, we want to invite everybody to the proverbial cookout. Eventually they're going to start bringing coleslaw to the cook. They're going to start bringing raisin stuffed coleslaw to the cookout. Let's not bring everybody into our stuff. Let's keep some stuff for ourselves and be unapologetic about it too. There's certain things that everybody has that they keep to themselves, but African people don't have that. You gotta, you've got some cultural thing, and next thing you know, your son or your daughter starts dating a white person, and all of a sudden it's all out. Let's keep some stuff to ourselves. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Black Steel. I agree with you too. Seems Trigger Happy. Seems Jagan agrees. He says, I agree, for us, by us. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says we should learn our lesson since ancient time that in the pursuit of civilizing the world sought to put Black people in the lowest position. He goes on to say, it's not to say we should be isolationists, but we have to have a level of exclusion. Teach African languages and Creoles should be in African schools. Well said. By the way, let me just repeat. I said it at the start of the show. I'll say it again. We were kind of low on topics tonight. If you want certain things to be discussed, join the Discord. Once you join, navigate to the Shoot the Breeze channel. You can post a prompt with an attachment. It could be anything from any social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube is popular, and Twitter. Try to avoid things from Disney, FIBA, and ABC News and stuff like that, because if you guys didn't notice, they took down last week's episode of Shoot the Breeze. So try to avoid sources like those. But if you want topics discussed, join the Discord, post your topics so that we can have robust discussions in the near future. With all that said, Buana, does she have a point, or should Wagwan not be taught in school?
Absolutely not. It shouldn't be taught in school. When I hear things like this integrationist nonsense and rhetoric, and by the way, Black Steel couldn't have said it any more eloquently. He gave all the examples that I was thinking about and why it shouldn't be taught. It's just, if you look this girl up, she probably have a white husband or a white wife or some shit like that. I mean, it's just typical integrationist nonsense. Why does she want a Chinese person to know what Jamaican about Jamaican patois and Nigerian pidgin thing? Why does she want them to know about that? So they can learn that culture. If they want to learn that culture, they can go to a Nigerian shop or go to a Jamaican shop on the corner. Give me a break. Give me a friggin' break. I think it was Sarkozy, either Sarkozy or one of these European prime ministers that said that multiculturalism has not worked. Even though they was trying, they said it has not worked. You would never see a Muslim or a Middle Easterner come up with this kind of nonsense. You know why? Because in the UK right now, they run the UK. They run the UK. And I talking about economically. If you go up and down the UK society, you would see whole blocks where it looked like Pakistan or India. Nothing but Indian stores. They run the whole area. Nothing but either mosques or grocery stores or lounge areas and stuff like. The whole block. The whole block. They don't need to be included. They don't need. They already done created their own economy. You have to come to them. What do they care if you be able to speak Punjabi? You know what I mean? We still begging and asking for inclusion. My goodness. After all them years, see, when the British government talked about Windrush and was trying to get the so-called people from around the Commonwealth countries to rebuild England, they invited people not only from the Caribbean countries, but also from India and Pakistan and all those other countries as well. And in the time when they came there, you had the same starting point. The blacks and the Indians have the same starting point. Well, what has come out of that experience is the blacks decided to integrate, which is fine if you represent 2 million people, where the greater population of the UK is 66 million people. You see, it's very difficult to remain separate, very difficult to set yourself aside and say, well, we don't become a part of society. It's very difficult to do it. Some have done that, but the greater portion of the black society has not. But what's interesting is the Indian culture, the Pakistanis, the Indians, and so forth. They have, because of their language, the language barrier, a lot of them have another language outside of formal English. And some would say, well, you know, Nigerian Pidgin and Patois is not really English. I understand that argument, but I'm saying that a formal language, which is Punjabi, then they had a formal religion, which is Islam. These things was a cultural aspects of cohesion that caused them to develop a culture outside of the greater society. So some of them did integrate, like you see right now. The Prime Minister of the UK right now is I forget his name, Indian guy, or wherever he's from, Indian looking guy. Some of them integrate. Some of them have not integrated. They live in the UK. Their economy is within the UK, but they have created a separate economy. So they are not begging for inclusion. They could live within their communities without even speaking English and still be able to live in $1 million homes selling what you call it now? I forget what they sell in these restaurants and things of that nature. You know, but they've been doing this decade after decade after decade, and the black folks there still ain't catch on yet. The multiculturalism has not worked, and integration has not worked. We still asking to be accepted and included. Why do you want a British person to be talking about Wagwan and to understand their culture? They know your culture. They go every weekend to Jamaica, the Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, sleep with some of the women, get some of the women pregnant, have Bahamian Jamaican wives, take them back to the UK. They know all about you. What more do you want them to know about you? You will give. We always giving away the world. We always want to give away the world like we some prostitutes. Everybody must love us and accept us forever. We don't read the tea leaves, I don't think. But it's going to come a day when that's going to have to stop. It's going to have to stop because you're about to be against the wall and you'll have no choice. The world right now is going the direction back to Hitlerism. Back to Hitlerism. More extremists in their views, where they blatant about it and saying they don't want you. I don't believe in inclusion. And to be accepted, you would not only have to be a second-class citizen, you would have to be our pet to live in our world. Now what you could do? You either go, you can ask them for inclusion. You must live in the real world, and the real world is telling you we don't want you. I mean, the fact that you help build the economy in our society, sure, we'll tolerate you. So now I must decide whether I want to be still going to play these little games of inclusion or develop to build my own economy within that society, as hostile as it may be, or leave. This is the choice. This is the choice for all these black British. This is the choice for them. But needless to say, I wish them well. I wish them well, you know, and I wish them much success. I'll leave it there, Koku.
Appreciate that, Buana. In the chat, Jagan says, about to jump on the flight. Just wanted to pop in and say blessings, safe travels to you, brother. Hopefully we'll see you next time. But Bakari said something interesting. I thought about this too, but I didn't know how to go about it. He said we need to do a panel reaction to Kofi's live the other day. Yeah, Kofi, if you have any ideas of how you'd like to go about doing that, hit me up. Join the Discord. Yona B says hey to Kofi. She says, very true to Buana. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, we have to be honest. By the way, how many of you in the chat, let me know how many of you watched that live that Kofi was a part of the other day. Let me know how many of you saw it. Just let me know in the chat. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, we have to be honest. that many radicals are also integrationists or multiracialists. Pan-African nationalism, as opposed to socialism, is scary for them. Yana B says, we try too hard to love others while no one loves us. Respect each other's differences, that's all. Trigger says, this is why I talk about African spiritual practices a lot. The congruency of Islam for the Arabs or Judaism for the Jews allows the diaspora to be protected culturally. And then he says, link the live. If Kofi's out there, drop the link. If not, I'll try to find it and I'll drop it for you in a few. Is there any other last thoughts here?
I just want to say one thing. We got to realize that the world we live in is not a fan of African people, and they haven't been. And this desire to be accepted, this desire to have to show our culture, our art as valuable as everyone else, it's not a good thing, because ultimately what happens is that it gets stolen from us. And I think about how Black people in America, they created jazz music, right? Now, you'd be hard pressed to find any Black people making jazz albums. We created so much things in this world, and then once it becomes popular, it gets taken and even weaponized again. Look at hip hop. Look how hip hop was created by Black people. White people found it. Now it's weaponized against us. So much of the conscious, intellectual, thought-provoking rap music gets buried, and everything is fuck, shoot, kill, all the other stuff. So we got to be real careful about Negroes who want to show our value or show how important our stuff is to white people. We don't need them to see that. We need to see, and I think that's probably why I always say we need a cultural revolution, because we have to reorient our culture to understand and realize that these Europeans, these other races don't see us on the same level of brotherhood the way we do. And until we protect ourselves, until we become in a position to where you can't take from us without consequences, we're going to continue to have these problems.
Black Sea Yana B says that's not true. She says the world we live in now are not a fan of each other, not just Black people. What say you to that?
Every culture on earth has an anti-Black slur, right? Even people we've never done anything to has an anti-Black slur. It's always so funny, getting off topic, whenever you see people talking about interracial dating and whatnot, the default is always white people. And the you never see them talk about Black people in that way. There's always something negative associated with Blackness, right? So I think even in the language we see that, Black or something black or dark, it's a dark day. It's a negative, something negative to do with Blackness, and it's in the language, it's in the artists and everything. I think we can't ignore that, even though people, they all have their qualities or whatnot. One thing they can all agree on is anti-Blackness, and that's even with other Black people too. I think sometimes we miss that anti-Blackness is a part of us as well, because we've been around these psychopaths for so long that we've inherited that anti-Black view of the world.
I mean, it's fun. Absolutely, it's funny because the whole thing when Black Sea said that we need to have a cultural revolution, and I've heard some people in the FBA party said that, well, we are gatekeeping their culture now. They say they are gatekeepers of their culture, and I'm trying to figure out, right? I'm trying to figure out. Right? Now, Eminem is one of the highest selling rappers of all time, recognized by Black WAP rappers and white rappers alike. but you want to gatekeep us Caribbean talents from out of your culture, but have nothing to say about the evidence of the river. It's madness. But I understand. I understand when Black Steel says that we do need to gatekeep our culture. Well, we do need to have a cultural revolution. I think that is across the board, not only in North America, but the Caribbean as well. I think that we have sold out. For me personally, in the Bahamas, oh goodness, man, they have sold out our culture to the highest to the highest bidder. You know, so I understand the concern, and I do believe that our culture should be zealously defended and protected in some way, and it shouldn't just go out to people who would willingly water it down and turn it into something else for a buck. Man, it's horrible, horrible. But I understand the want to protect what is actually yours and not have it perverted. So that's very important. I agree with him when he says that.
In the chat, Afro Native World says culture is sold as product, and that's what was done with jazz and hip hop. You'll have to tell Black musicians to find another profession where they don't have to sell their product to non-Blacks. I think he was directing that to Black Steel. Yana B was saying to Black Steel, that is not true. Stop with the victimhood now. But Bakari is in the chat still. He says, I've said that a humpteen dozen times. Culture revolution. Yeah, we absolutely need to change our culture. Afro Native World says living off of music causes these issues. Huh. Okay. Yana B says to Afro Native World, good luck with that. If there's any last thoughts, go ahead. If not,
I think that we as a culture need to develop. I think that there are other genres of music that we should focus on. I think that yes, the world is in love with hip hop and rap music, young people, because I think that there are other genres of music out here, and I think that we need to investigate these things, man. And then if we do develop another form of music, I think that we should learn from what has happened to our music currently, and not become the rats trapped in the box, committing the same errors over and over again.
you know what? Let me ask this follow-up question. Because a couple times we've said between the chat and here, we've said cultural revolution. So what does this revolution look like? What things in our culture, generally speaking, do we change? Do we fix? I'll throw out to the panel. Anyone could respond.
So when I'm thinking about cultural revolution, right, I'm thinking kind of what, and I don't want to model it after what happened in China, but I do think that we can learn from that history. So after the communists took over in 1949, at the end of, there was a war between the nationalists and the communists. The communists won, and the nationalists had to escape to the island of Taiwan. So once the communists took over the country, there was a need to what they wanted to do was purge the reactionary elements of Chinese society that had caused them to have a civil war. And before that civil war, allowed the Japanese to invade their country. And before that, they allowed the European powers to, take from China and, get their people addicted to drugs, so on and so forth. So they were looking at a long list of, defeats and setbacks that were suffered by their people, and how to remove those elements from their society that allow their people to be vulnerable to those conditions. So looking at that, when I say we need a cultural revolution, we got to understand that how African people, where we started from and where we are now, and how we came about to where we are now. And there's certain parts of our culture and our society that have made us vulnerable to that. And how we can protect ourselves. Everything in your culture should be examined. And sometimes it's not necessarily good to keep it. Just because something's done by tradition, you may need to re-examine that. Black people again, the xenophilia, how we love to have, invite everybody to the cookout. That has been a detriment to us throughout our history. It allowed the Arabs in Africa, it allowed the Europeans to come in. They didn't really have to fight their way into our villages. They were accepted. They were included. And look where that got us. So I think that we're going to have to just take those elements of our culture that are not focused on liberation, not focused on progression, and kind of purge that. Now, Mao went a different way than I would have. For example, he famously made it a point to kill all the landlords in his country because he wanted to eliminate um, ownership of private property. So his solution was just kill all the landlords. So I think that's a bit extreme um, in that aspect. When he did what is called another example, and I pull up these dictators, what Stalin did in Russia, as a way to compete with the West. But as a result of that, he caused famine and starvation, and I think there's a middle ground somewhere, or you kind of you have like the Great Leap Forward that they did in China, where how are we going to industrialize our culture to keep up and produce with the rest of the world. And I would say they were very successful at that. But at the same time, there's a cost to that. So that cost has been to China's ecology, to their natural, to the health of their environment. You can have a strong economy, and I'm big on environmentalism because we only got one planet to live on. We don't have a separate one we can go to. I think we have to find that middle ground where we can have sustainable growth at the same time, not wreck our shit like China has done in many ways. Um, but that cultural revolution is going to have to be dealing with those elements, and there's going to be some people that's going to have to go. Like for example, Black people, we have a problem with traitors in our midst, right? And that's not something that is particular to us. Every group of people has their traitors. The American Revolution, they had Benedict Arnold. During World War II, they had the Quisling guy in Norway who betrayed Norway to the Germans. So we don't have a monopoly on traitors, but the problem is that how we deal with those who betray our interests. To me, I feel like you should never let a traitor go unpunished. And when we have those people who betray African people, who deliver our freedom fighters and our other people into the hands of our enemies, we gotta find a way to make it to where the punishment is greater than the reward. In South Africa, what they were doing, the ANC, they would burn you. When Winnie Mandela was running stuff, they put a necklace on you and they burn you. I don't know if we got to go that far, but it's a lot better than just letting them walk free and yeah, I got this money. What you gonna do to me? Bragging, not only betraying, but then bragging about their betrayal, because there's nothing to incentivize loyalty to the group. And it should be more than just fear, but at the same time, you got to have consequences for betrayal. Things like that, reorienting the culture, dealing with treasonous elements, reactionary elements, that's got to be dealt with. And how we go about it, I don't know. But I do think that it's going to have to be done, or it's going to be done for us, because if we're not looking at it that way, we're going to continue to be infiltrated. We're going to continue to have our land stolen, our people killed. I'll leave it there.
I think that Black Steel has a point, and when he talks about cultural revolution, I think that you for to execute the narrative like that, in terms of what Mao did and some of the Asian leaders would have done, you gotta be in control of a state. You gotta have the power or regime to execute them kinds of things. And I think that if you don't live in a society or country where you are close to the reins of power to execute those kinds of measures that them brothers would have done, I think it'll be very difficult to do it. Now you could maybe influence like some brothers in America, or because they don't live in a place where they control the reins of power. They have been made influential. People like Farrakhan, many leaders, who influence the minds of people to act in a particular way. Elijah Muhammad, even people like Tariq Nasheed and Umar Johnson, as controversial as they are, they've been able to steer the minds of people in a particular way. Now, whether that's positive or negative, that's one thing or another. Now, one day, that's neither here nor there. But I think that influential people who are right-minded should bring that idea about where you have this so-called revolution in the way people act, and in the way we execute things, and in the way we think. I think that that'll be a very important thing to do. The how-tos, the execution part. Now we then created grandiose speeches and influence the minds of people even to listen to what we have to say. Now it's time to direct them in a direction. And when Koku asked the question, well, what is culturally revolutionary? I think with us, some of the customs that we have developed, I think that we need to get away from. One of which we always talk about in this panel is eating. Food, diets. Our diets have us in very precarious situations throughout the diaspora. You see a lot of overweight brothers dying at an early age, sisters dying at an early age, they overweight. I think that overweight culture needs to be deaded. That Lizzo culture, that needs to be deaded. That's not cute. It's unhealthy. And by the time we reach a certain age, you'll have all kind of illnesses that stem from that. That's fast food culture. We need to get back to the culture where we used to cook, but not how our grandmothers used to cook with all the fat and the things where it was tasty, but it was giving us high blood pressure and diabetes. But a revolution where we cook in a way that is healthy for us. That's first and foremost. Another thing too is I believe that we, as a revolutionary thing or revolutionary act, we need to get away from entertainment culture. Entertainment culture has been a disease within our community. And that's a controversial thing to say, but that entertainment culture is not giving us the tools we need, the things that we need to get to where we are. That entertainment culture is no bueno. It's no bueno. It's no good. When the leader of the people who's speaking for Black people is Lil Wayne, or when the president or vice president deferring to what's the female rapper? I forget her name. In terms of where we should go, what direction we should go, Cardi B. These things, the entertainment culture has to die. That has to die. We need to go back to basics. I remember when they had the Harlem Renaissance, when the thinkers was at the top of the chain. And then we had all of Dr. Bendem and my brother Amos Wilson's, all these little small lectures was very important to listen to. Ivan Van Sertima's, and I think that the entertainment culture that we have right now, where you have an athlete who may not necessarily be running on all cylinders, let me put it like that, or entertainment. I think that kind of culture that we have, where we look solely at them for everything, I think that could be a big deficit within our community. And no other community refers to an athlete to speak for them, or how they think, or how they should perform, or what they should execute. We shouldn't have an entertainment culture, not in the way that we have it right now, where they are the premier, the center stage in terms of speaking for how we feel and how we think. I think that's the culture that we need to do away with. And there are other things too. There are other things we could get into. It'll take too long. But these are some of the things in terms of having a cultural revolution, I think that we need to really, really strive towards. But I'll leave it there.
Bono in the chat, Afro Native World says, Bono, we got that in the Caribbean, talking about food, but barely anyone wants to eat idle.
Yes, and I want to answer that after you're done.
No, just quickly, Black Steel was laughing at the Lizzo culture. So yeah, but go ahead. Afro Native World talking about idle eating in the Caribbean. Talk about it.
Yes, so I would say this. Afro Native World, being from the Caribbean, he know that agriculture comes from Rastafarianism. Now, many Christians in the Caribbean, Black people are Christians, because it's so-called idol, and they attach it to Rastafarianism. They will kind of like back off from it. And you know what's the unfortunate thing within our culture? Let a bunch of white people start eating it. Let it become popularized around a bunch of Europeans, and then all of a sudden it'll be hip to do it. But that's just a whole lot of brain deadness that we need to wake up our people from. But I think that people like Dr. Sebi then make these kinds of things chic, and I think that it'll come back. I think it'll have to Afro-Native, because if it doesn't, the people them gonna die off. You can't walk around this way within this 80 to 90 degree weather. You can have a stroke. You can have a stroke. So you must do something. You can't get proper medical. Don't you know within my country that you can't get proper medical assistance, whether if you need your teeth to be cleaned or certain things done with you. The first thing they do to you, they check your blood pressure. And if your blood pressure is above normal, they won't patronize you, brother. You know why? Because they are afraid that you're gonna bleed out on the table. So it's becoming very important, imperative for you to have your blood pressure to exist within a certain space. Now, some things are genetic. You can't do nothing about it. But if you having high blood pressure issues as a young person where you can't get medical treatment, what will happen to you when you get older? But if you continue like the rats trying in the box, doing the same things over and over again, what is the ultimate outcome of eating Kentucky Fried Chicken every day? What is the ultimate outcome of eating those types of food every day? What's the ultimate outcome? Early death. Why? Lifestyle choices. So, I mean, like I say, we as Black people, either we gonna wait until our back against the wall and have to do it when they cutting off our foot, or we could do it early and follow what the Ras is doing. What my mother told me before? She'd say there are no overweight people in the old folks' home. Say, Moana, ain't no old people in the old folks' home. Ain't no overweight people in the old folks' home. So we are living to die, because you are not going to make it to 60, 65 to being an overweight, a morbidly obese person. Your life could get rid of you long before you get rid of it. But that's just me. That's just my opinions about the world. I'll leave it there.
Appreciate that, Buana. Afro-Native World in chat says, I personally know Black musicians who are forced to perform for whites to make money, and they don't get Black folk financial support same way. This is their experience they shared with me. He said, look at African, Caribbean reggae artists. They make their money, start to speak on the Chinese Revolution. He said one aspect about the Chinese Revolution is that in present-day China, while the CPP is atheist, they still went back to their Chinese practices as opposed to what Mao intended. Afro-Native World says it's not the Eurasians made their way into hip-hop. It was the Run DMCs that made their way into Manhattan and brought it and sold it to them. They don't see it as detrimental because they got rich from it. Let me just skip some of these. Trigger Happy 262 says plant-based diets for Africans have to be presented through our cultural dishes, but luckily that should be easy because many African foods are healthy. It's just colonialism emphasizing other things. Afro-Native World says we got a lot of you say already. It's simply not valued or hyped up, and the masses follow what's popular, what society tells them they should value. I'm not sure what that comment was. I jumped over a few. But you guys, when you listen to the playback, check out the comment section. There's always some nice nuggets of thought and information out there, so check them out when you have a chance. I think I posted this. Let me see something. Let's go to the next topic. What was it? Yeah, so let's go to Shoot a Breeze topic number 4 if there's nothing else to be said for this one. Shoot a Breeze topic number 4 says, are some women starving? Some women starving. This came with a link. Let me share it with you guys. Oh, crap. Hold on. Let me grab the link. I saw this. I think Zuli sent me this a couple weeks back, and I thought it was really weird. I'll be curious to see what you guys think about it. Let me share my screen with you. So it's taking us to Twitter, and a post from Nate, which says, "I'm looking into this story about this boy in the neighborhood that keeps sneaking into this lady's house to hide. She ended up hugging him in the ending." Oh, well, I'm sorry about that. He kind of spoiled the ending, but we'll watch it.
He said because Gucci Mane and Wiz Khalifa were having a party. What are you here now? Why did I come to my house and you're in here?
Because I am under a lot of magic right now.
Say, man, look, I could kill you right now. It's your second time coming in here.
I know.
Why do you feel like it's free to keep breaking in my fucking house? Huh?
I mean, you can do whatever you want with me. I'm dead serious. I will like get on my knees and pretty much say that I am under so much.
Do you live in this neighborhood?
Yes, I live 4 houses down.
Why were you just sitting in the restroom?
Because I was so scared of somebody trying to kill me, dude. My own brother busted through my door with a screwdriver and literally was going ape shit. That I wasn't taking my meds, that I was staying up late, and he was scared.
I thought when the police took you last time, you were in the hospital, and they said you were going to be gone away for a while. When did they release you?
Pretty much like a week ago or something.
And you want to come up in here? Why do you keep wanting to come here?
Dude, I'm scared. I was dead.
Why do you keep wanting to
There
come
was somebody.
Why do you keep wanting to come here?
This place is safe. We're serious.
Give me a hug.
Yeah, that's how that ended. For real, for real. Give me a hug. Some women starving. That should be topic number 4. I really want to hear from you guys in the chat. I know you guys are still talking about the last prompt. That's fine. Also slip in some thoughts on this one as well. There's a black woman. There's this young white punk who keeps breaking into her house. Seems like he's off his medication. Or maybe he's just being white. Who knows? But at the end of the video, after interrogating the kid about why he is coming there, this, that, and the other, she says, "Give me a hug." And that's where it ends. Let me just take a quick look and see if there's more to this. Sometimes I don't realize it's like a thread. Only to say commented, he says, "Yeah, that woman's starving." So we got his answer. Baby Gemini says, "Poor baby. I don't know. I just have empathy for people going through a mental health crisis." Jesus Christ. This person says, "Me in my bed when I hear him breaking in." That's sad. Hood Witch says, "And that tells you a lot about us as people, especially the safety and security of a black woman." Wow. Another person says, "What? I wouldn't even hugged him. This is some weird shit, but I guess she trying to be understanding." All right. Here's an interesting comment. "Let that boy be black. It would be a different story." Huh. Okay, we read a few comments. I'll be curious to see what
Party. What are you here now? Why did I come to my house and you're in here?
But not only my panelists, I'm curious to hear what you guys in the chat have to say as well. Before we get into the panelist thoughts, Kofi is thanking folks for joining the live the other day. I was there. Buana was there. Anthony McPhail was there. I didn't mention it before because I know folks get kind of funny style about pointing these things out, but we were in the chat. Stephen Bakari was there too. And Kofi's celebrating his 23rd anniversary. So shout out to Kofi, the wife, the family on your 23rd anniversary. Congratulations to y'all. But with that said, let's get back to Shoot the Breeze. This Shoot the Breeze prompt right here. How come I can't find it? Okay. Let's get back to this prompt right here. Black Steel, what say you to what you just saw?
Jesus Christ, man. Oh, oh, this is what I'm talking about. This really plays into when we talk about the Cultural Revolution. Because God, that was the secondhand embarrassment I got from watching this clip is just quite amazing. And we all know the answer to the question is, had this been a black boy, how she would have responded. And we know it wouldn't have been favorably. The cops would have been called. He would have got arrested. You know, that this is not what would have happened had that been a young black boy who was having a mental health episode. No, we know that. But more than that, just look at how they just sit up here and they just idolize whiteness. And I said earlier how the world is anti-black, but look at how whiteness disarmed her. You have an intruder in your home, right? He put on his little puppy dog face and little white boy, and all of a sudden give me a hug. And you got people in the chat room, you know, making all type of sexual comments about how they would fuck the kid. It's just this is one of the elements of our culture we gotta purge, right? The way we look at whiteness and consider it to be safe or unthreatening, whereas blackness is considered to be a threat or dangerous, right? Do you remember a couple years ago when the white bitch killed a brother? He was in his apartment. She went to his apartment and shot him while he was on his couch eating dessert.
Yes.
Yeah, and we all see how the police officer was rubbing his head and straightening out her hair, and the black judge, like, oh, you made a mistake. It's it's okay. It's these type of things. These white people have been showing us how threatening they are, right, to us. And then all of a sudden they show up and it's like, it's okay. We're going to let you go. Everything is fine. We're going to, it's quite ridiculous, man. So, of course some women are starving because they value whiteness. And this I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say it. Fuck it. All right. The world we live in, right? White men, and when it comes to the dating market, right? White men tend to be desired because they usually have a certain level of economics that other men don't. But even when they don't, say for example, like in the U.S., Asian men make more money than white men on average, generally. But do you know who dates outside their race more than anybody else? Asian women. So even though Asian men make more money statistically than white men do, Asian women date outside their race more than anybody else. Why would the women not be with the men making the most money? It's because they value whiteness. Their whiteness is a currency. And we see that amongst all races of women, how they value whiteness more so than anything else. Yeah, he make a lot of money, but he's white though. This black dude may make more money, he's taller, he got more swag, but it's a white boy. And because we equate whiteness with value, I'm not gonna say that for all sisters, because there's a lot of men too. We all know somebody. And I got a family member. I joke with him. I always say, hey, if it ain't snowing, he ain't going, right? So if it ain't some white girls, that he's not going because in his mind he values whiteness. He said, if it ain't snowing, he ain't going, And we believe this in our hearts. Many of us believe this. We'll see black people struggling over the white person there, they straighten it up. If white people was running it. And then when we study history, we see the reason white people got in there in those rat infested ships to explore the world because their shit was fucked up. You don't get these great advancements in European culture without stealing, cannibalizing from other people. You don't get that. But yet white people have done such an excellent job. I gotta say, I got to get a crack at his due, okay? They have done an amazing job with rehabilitating their image in the minds of the people that they have conquered and oppressed for
Absolutely.
centuries. They have done a phenomenal job. White people have gone to every inhabited landmass and committed genocide, from Africa to Asia, North and South America, Australia. They've murdered, raped, pillaged, stole, and they're still fucking doing it. But yet we'll turn around and have the same descendants of those same people who've been oppressed look at the white man and the white woman as the pinnacle, as the goal you're to aspire to. We try to run our households the way they run their households. And I say this because a lot of white people, a lot of black people, we don't really see white people outside of the image that they want to show to us. But when you really get to interact with them, you be around those trailer parks, you interact with those white trash, and you see how they really live, how they go when they don't have teeth and they don't have legs, they don't have their limbs sometimes. And you're like, what the fuck? Why are we trying to emulate this? But white people have done such an excellent job. I've been around black people who think all white people are rich because they grew up around rich white people. And they come to certain areas, they come to the South and they see the trailer park white people. And they're like, what the fuck? And I tell them, this is how the majority of white people live. At least in the United States, you got a few pockets of white people doing great. You know, you go to California, New York, LA, it's great. Chicago, but then you go to Indiana, you go to Alabama, you go to Florida, but yet we don't get in our heads that they're not better than us. You see this white, he felt safe in her house. What gave you the right to go into this woman's house so you could feel safe? So her safety was less important than your safety. But even in his actions, he showed her in his mind she was less than him because his safety was more important than her safety, right? Because in their minds, we're here to serve them. That's what they brought us here. They brought us here, and that's the job that we're going to continue is to serve them. And subconsciously, he just showed it, and he just proved it. Ursula, how you know he's Palestinian? You see, say he's Palestinian. Where is this evidence that he's Palestinian? I would like to see that. But anyways, I'll leave it there. That's funny.
Yeah.
If he was Palestinian, I'm
Yeah,
supposed to go easy on him. That's fine.
Yeah, that's a joke from Erzuliism. Erzuli, you have a chance, come on up, because I know you had sent me this a couple weeks ago too. You didn't post it on the Discord, but you sent me this personally a couple weeks ago. If you have any thoughts you'd like to add, come on up if you can. Kofi the Black Critic says, y'all not gonna like what I'm gonna say. Not saying what y'all saying is wrong, but y'all seeing this in one way. You don't have to go that far. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Naps TV. He says you don't have to go that far right here in New York. Okay. But Kofi, I know you're celebrating your anniversary, but you are commenting. I'd like to see what you have to add to this in your disagreement, I get, of sorts, with what Black Seal had to say. Afro Native World says, yes, we need to show our people more trailer parks to add to what Black Seal was saying. Trigger Happy 262 earlier said, white people are non-threatening in different ways. It's the reality of a multiracial country. New Africa is better than Black America. But Trigger said something earlier I liked even more. He says, the reality is if you say you are American, white people are your people. Why would white people be a threat if one is American as opposed to African? I thought that was just an excellent comment, and I hope you guys who are listening either live or in the playback are paying attention to that comment. That's a very interesting comment. With all that said, let's hear what Buana has to say.
When I see this young guy, this guy coming to this lady, you know what I think about when I see this? I think of Dylan Roof going to the church around all them black women and all them comfortably letting them sit at the front of the church and saying, "Oh, you okay?" and coddling him, and then they say, "Let us pray," and then he, did what he did. And if when Black Steel talks about the fact that how they clean that image, these people have cleaned the image up. When you think of the pilgrims came to the Indians with the same kind of, "Oh, we hungry. oh, we don't know what to do in America. Could you help feed us? And then I'm slaughtering. They have such a track record, man. I'm asking myself, where is it? And people say, well, you know, Mwani being a chauvinist. Because I'm saying, where's her mind? Because I don't see me handling the situation like how she handled the situation. You know what I mean? I might have funeralized him. I really and truly, I might have funeralized him. At worst, I would at least call the police. Say, get this dude out of my house and give him a beating before he leaves. So he doesn't feel like where I live is a safe space for him. I wouldn't make my home a safe space for him. I wouldn't make it a safe space for him. You know, and at the end of the day, what she does, where there's someone who breaks into our home and she gives him a hug, that's unheard of. You know, there was a video where this young black guy, he was from Liberia. He was living in America with his mother and his auntie. He was going to school, and I think that he got lost. And he went to knock on this old white dude's home. And you know what the old white dude did? He shot him through the door. And really, he came outside. He was about to murder him, and he was just able to just barely get away. In the hospital for months. Young guy, very, very young guy. And I'm saying that we had this discussion before. How is it that we are so embracing of the whole entire world? You know, the safest, the safest, the person who is safest in the hood in the black community is at 12 o'clock at night, a white tourist. A white tourist is the most safest person in the black community and the worst black neighborhood at 12 o'clock at night. Could you imagine such a thing? Because they're ready to put a stamp and seal on who they are. They say, you think that you the gangster? We'll show you gangster if you put your hands on me. We'll show you gangster. We'll show you who is who. You putting your hands on me. And not only are we going to come in to do it, we're going to have people who look like you come in to do it. You know, so this, like I say, Black Steel was talking about a cultural revolution. We do need to disabuse ourselves from the brainwashing. We need to wash our brains again with detergent and soap. Wash our brains again with African detergent and African soap, where we could understand that the world that we live in is not through a white European spectacles. We need to get up off of that. That's a very dangerous thing, because he is just setting the stage, this young man, to either come back inside his house or rape her, or come back inside his house to do harm to her. To me, he is just looking inside the house to see where he can hide the next time. So when she disappears, no one will know what happened to her. There's so many black people disappearing around the world, or even in the Americas, and even in this country as well. They disappearing for different reasons, because of gullible people who look like me and you, opening their arms and embracing the world. How you know he don't want a heart to sell or not lie, or want our kidneys? You know, this is the level that you need to be thinking on. And I understand it's all good to be human. We should see each other with a human face and respect each other, humanity, and all these kinds of good things. When you live within that mentality, that's a beautiful thing. And I'm not taking that away. But the world is also an extremely dangerous place. And these people have had a track record, especially these little fuckers. You know, they go on these suicide missions. You know, where they take out masses of people just to jot down on 4chan, well, I kill a negress today. You know, bragging about it. You have to be careful in the world that you exist in. You have to be extremely careful. You don't know him. Let the police deal with it, or let your big black boyfriend deal with it. You know what I mean? Go call your brother. If you feel like your heart will get in the way, are you doing the rational thing? The most rational thing is these people have a track record. You can go off of how you feel, or you can go off of these little fuckers' track records. They infamous for going into churches and schools and blowing people away. Why you don't think that you would be exempted? Or these people don't have nefarious intent? This same sister, and I am blaming her, may think that I have more of a nefarious intent than this white guy does. If I was to find myself in them circumstances, which I wouldn't. And I think that we should have some belief, some skepticism in terms of these people. not only having skepticism with people who look like me and you at 12 o'clock in the night, but have some skepticism with what they could possibly do as well. And especially the well-dressed one with the suits on, because some people exempt them. They only think the Caucasians with the gold teeth and the mullet hairstyle and the jeans gonna do them harm. No, 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 no. No, no, no. You have some psychopaths out here who dress very well, suit and tie, you know what I mean? And they'll rape you off too, or kill you too, and sell your body parts. Sell your body parts in a day. So we need to have some skepticism about the world in terms of who these people are, and not only them, you have some other people that exist as well. I understand we have some black devils in the world. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. However, you have some white devils too. You put that in your mind from time to time. You have white devils. Yes. You have white devils and Chinese ones too, and Indian ones who may hate you worse. But I'll leave it. I'll leave it, Koku.
Yeah, we need to let them know that. Sure, you're right. You could say there's some black devils, but you're damn sure, maybe, but you damn sure have white and yellow and brown devils, and they should be the ones you fear first, right? That's the thing we got to get across to our folks. You know, before I introduce the next panelist, I just want to put this out there. Maybe you guys could touch on it in a follow-up question later. But is religion, because a lot of that helping and being a humanitarian, a lot of that comes to us through, in the modern day, through, in my opinion, religion. It's not to say that it's not also an African sensibility, but I think a lot of what's practiced today is actually based on religious belief. Is religion this damn powerful, man, that you can be seeing how a certain set of people treat you and your people, but yet you feel compelled to be compassionate towards these barbarians? I don't know, man. I can't think there's only religion that's holding people to that. There has to be something else. Cowardice. There has to be something else in that that's causing that. But let me welcome in our next panelist, our boy Erzuliism. Erzuliism, how are you?
I'm good. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing okay. But I was gonna say just what you just said. You go to all of these people's churches, they got a blue-eyed blonde dude in the front. So if your savior is Caucasian or whatever, if your God is Caucasian, why are we blaming this lady for that? Why are we mad at this lady, or are we saying she's starving? Like, even though I think I sent that, but at the end of the day, you gotta realize, yo, when you look at the what is it, Save the Children, right? The kids are dying in Africa, all of this, all of that. Who are the people that go save them when you send the money? So imagine that you're a person in a third world country, you're suffering, and then you see those NGOs, if that's what they call those, non-profit organization come. Who's the head of those non-profit organization? Bringing them clothes, bringing them processed food, bringing them uh, um 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 uh, stuff like that. When there's a hurricane, the Red Cross, who goes there? They don't see black people coming to save them. Not only their savior, and the church is doesn't look like them. The people that come save him during their famine, during all this bullshit that's going on, is not even you. So for this, so I think that's worse. This lady right here, it's not even just the religion, it's straight propaganda. And black people have a lot of self-hate going on within themselves that I don't, due to all that tribalism shit that we've been talking about. So even like, if, for example, like in Haiti, for example, when they put Aristide out, who was there to bring him back? Was it a black nation that came and said, no, there's something wrong, let's bring this president back? No. Why are we looking at this like she's thirsty? I guess maybe that person is just, I don't know. Black people have this savior complex too. since they think that they're the cradle, the mother of civilization, they think they should be just. I don't know if that young boy is crazy, but like Boana and some people said, I would have had to call the police or something if that's his third time coming in. But at the end of the day, look at the head of your freaking pantheon of your god system is a silk hair, blue eye person. So I don't know, man. So is she starving? Yeah, maybe she is starving, but why is she starving? Why does she feel she has to do that? I bet you if he was a black man, the black man would have never took that like that. There would have been some yelling, some cursing. Maybe the black man would have been like, hey, or something. But I was looking like Goku just said. Who's the head of your God pantheon? Either if it's Christianity, if it's Islam, if it's Buddhism, even if it's freaking the spirit. When you go to a Paris and the Voodoo or Santa Maria, look at the saints they're using. It's over, man. It's over. That's what I have to say.
Appreciate that, Zuli. Zuli said it's over. What say? Oh, well, I guess Buana stepped off. I'm sure he'll be back. Black City, you want to add any thoughts to what Zuli had to say? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Coco.
Oh no, yeah. So yeah, I was asking if Black Sea wanted to add any thoughts to what Zuli had to say.
Yeah, I kind of agree with him. I do. On some points, and some points I don't. But yeah, it definitely does have to do with some of the issues that we're having. And, but I do think that, as far as the savior complex, black people worshiping white Jesus. Yeah, I definitely think that does have a part to play. Religion is such a tricky subject because people will kill you about their religion. Um, it will divide families. And I think that there's a reason for that. The more we suffer, the more we experience hardship, we seek meaning in the hereafter. We seek meaning in supernatural elements. That's pretty common, I think, among all people. But I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that. Buana's not back yet, but I guess in the meantime, we'll move on to the next. Zuli, hang around. This should be the last topic for the night. Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number. Right? Looks like Buana might make it back in time. All right, Buana's back. Buana, I don't know if you was able to hear what was said in your absence.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Can you hear
What'd
me?
you say? Yeah, I could hear you. I had to restart my phone, but would you say it again?
Okay. No, I was asking if you were able to hear anything that was said while you weren't on the panel.
No, I was just restarting the phone. So I'm so sorry, fellas.
It's okay. But Azuli spoke about the religious thing and how effective that is if your Godhead, if your religious Godhead is these other people, when you encounter these other people, how are you going to treat them? And I thought
that is a very. I mean, it's so deeply embedded within the minds of our people. Slowly and surely, I think, and I don't know if this is so for where you are. I think that the young people are really trying to question them kinds of ideas. I don't think not all of them. Some of them are questioning them ideas and turning away from those ideas. Some of our people are traditionalists. They will follow the traditions of their family, their older family members, and unfortunately they'll stuck onto that white Jesus version of things. But I think that because of a lot of the information that we getting right now with these smartphones and laptops and the internet, I think that the young people are getting another kind of vision or view of spirituality, even though it's still a Christianity, boy. I tell you, that's a dangerous drug for our people. The Caucasians know what they was doing when they was injecting us with the Christian drug. I mean, because we are stoned off of that. But I think that eventually we'll recover, and hopefully we won't find a new drug, but we'll find some developments, health and healing spiritually. Because right now, man, I mean, man, we are embedded, and because of that, that's creating a whole lot of problems. Because if this woman seeing her savior, Lord have mercy, if she's seeing her savior, and if this man's intention is to do her harm, she will never see it coming. Never.
Oh, appreciate that, boy. There's no last thoughts on this prompt. Let's go to our fifth and probably the final topic for tonight. Should be topic number 5. Should read topic number 5 says, is there a bias in police shootings? Is there a bias in police shootings? This came with a link that's going to take us back to Twitter again. Let me share my screen. So on Twitter, this is from the Hodge twins. It says Black Harvard professor did a study on police shootings and says that, quote, we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. This is about a 3-minute video. We'll watch it and then we'll discuss it.
I collected a lot of data. We collected millions of observations on everyday use of force that wasn't lethal. We collected thousands of observations on lethal force. And it was in this moment in 2016 that I realized people lose their minds when they don't like the result. So what my paper showed, you'll see tomorrow, like some of you, was that, yes, we saw some bias in the low-level uses of force, every day pushing up against cars and things like that. People seem to like that result. But we didn't find any racial bias in police shootings. Now, that was really surprising to me because I expected to see it. The little-known fact is I had 8 full-time RAs that it took to do this over nearly a year. When I found this surprising result, I hired 8 fresh ones and redid it to make sure. They came up with the same exact answer, and I thought it was robust. And I went to go give it, and my God, all hell broke loose. It was a 104-page dense academic economics paper with a 150-page appendix, okay? It was posted for 4 minutes when I got my first email. This is full of shit. Doesn't make any sense. And I wrote back, how'd you read it that fast? That's amazing. You are a genius. And I had colleagues take me to the side and say, don't publish this. You'll ruin your career. I said, what are you talking about? I said, what's wrong with it? Do you believe the first part? Yes. Do you believe the second part? Well, the issue is they just don't fit together. We like the first one, but you should publish the second one another time. I said, let me ask this. If the second part about the police shootings, this is a literal conversation. I said to them, if the second part showed bias, do you think I should publish it then? And they said, yeah, then it would make sense. And I said, I guarantee you I'll publish it. We'll see what happens. So it was, you know, I lived under police protection for about 30 or 40 days. I had a 7-day-old daughter at the time. I remember going and shopping for it because, you know, when you have a newborn, you think you have enough diapers, you don't. So I was going to the grocery store to get diapers with an armed guard. It was crazy. It was really, truly crazy.
Y'all know how Black people be knowing? I'm telling you right now, that guy right there, you can't trust that. You can't. That guy,
nope.
that Jay-Z
nope,
guy,
you can't trust a word he says. Nope, I agree with you.
You can't trust shit he just said. Black people be knowing. You look at that guy, Tariq Nasheed and them and Scout. You look at Oman. You look at this guy. You can't trust shit he just said or shit he has ever said when it comes to black folk. I'll throw it to Black Steel to start off. Black Steel, is there a bias in police shooting?
Of course there is. What is this dude talking about? You know what? You got to be careful about people. Sometimes statistics can be a good thing and a bad thing. They can kind of use them to, skew the point. So when you say there's not a bias in police shootings, right? I don't know. I haven't seen his data. I would like whatever information he's posted. I like to see it. However, let's be honest. Number one, I think we're talking about the number of people killed by the police. All right. So first of all, white people, Europeans, crackers, whatever, they make up the majority of the population in the United States. So just by sheer number, they're going to be the ones who are killed more often than not, right? Black people make up probably 13, 14% of the population of the United States, right? But when you look at police shootings, we are overrepresented in the number of shootings. So and I don't know the exact number, but even though we make up a small percentage of the country, we make up a large percentage of the people who are killed by law enforcement. So without looking at his data, I don't want to, but on the face of it, it's a bunch of crap. But we also understand that the police in the United States, their role is really just to enforce the law. And there's no law that's trivial, that's small enough that they won't kill you over it. So what are we really saying? And to me, whenever someone says, "Oh, the police, there's no bias in police, so police kill as many white people as they do black people," is that a flex for white people? Well, you niggas should be quiet because they killing us too. Like you're not mad about that? Like you're not upset and the police just murder somebody because he ran a traffic stop? He ran a stop sign. Y'all not mad about that? It's always funny to me whenever they say that. But yeah, without his day, I can't really say. But you gotta watch black people like that who try to make excuses, who try to come up with ways to sweet. Oh, it's not really that bad. I don't see police violence. It's almost like they're trying to gaslight us, as if we can't believe our eyes and our ears. I've been black my whole life. Okay, this isn't something new to me. So I understand any dealings with law enforcement could escalate to death. Any dealings with them. And that's why I try my best to avoid. But we understand that we're not here to protect us. But what he's saying is that, I don't really see the bias because I guess he said they kill as many white people as they do black people. But that's not really the point, though. That's not really the point. It's just the fact that even though if we make up 13% of the population and 30% of the people getting killed by the cops are black, even though white people are the majority, we're still overrepresented in police shootings. Why is that? Why are police officers more likely to resort to violence when it comes to dealing with black people, resort to aggression when dealing with black people? Why are they so willing to escalate? And that's because of the implicit anti-blackness within the institution. It was created out of slave catchers. That's the origin of the police in the United States. It originally came from the patrollers. So I don't know, man. I don't trust this dude, man. I'm pretty sure he's married to a white woman too. I bet money. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's a good point about who he's married to as well. Uzuli, what say you?
I'm gonna play devil's
I
advocate
collected a
on
lot.
So I'm gonna say this. Black still said something that I was gonna say also, which like black people make 13% of the population. If there's no, if the number of police shooting of black people from that 13% is equal to the number of police shooting, the ratio is unbalanced. So I don't know if he said that in the longer interview or if he did not or whatever. Because if he did not, then his that whole presentation, there's a underlying uh not even bias. There's a corruption and his and that I forgot the word I want to use, but there's something wrong with that. If if black people make 13%, and then the number of police shooting of black men of black people is equal to the number, that discrepancy is still leans toward being racist. Why is a country who's made of 13%? Why is it equal? And then again, what black sister that I love is that if they're killing your own white people, why are you not mad about that? And that's the crazy thing that I don't understand. Let's say that what he said is true. My guy, all the Caucasian people who are there laughing and clapping, talking about, yeah, oh, you're not mad? I saw something maybe a couple of years ago where a white police officer just killed a white dude with his hands up. There was no protesting in the street. I don't understand these people. So there's also something wrong with the Caucasian psyche in America. Because I've never seen them protest for the murder of a Caucasian man who was unjustly killed. I'm gonna wait. Has any one of you on this panel or in the chat ever seen that when a white guy got killed by the police unjustly, that white people on protest? I've never seen that. The only protest that I saw, I think, was when the Cowboys, maybe 3 years ago, they were not playing. They came out with their guns. Something about something. I've never seen it. But let's get back to this. But what if those statistics are right? But bro, is he saying that there's racism is what is he trying to say? Because when we look at the penal code, the prisons, black people are overtly represented in there. So I'm trying to understand what is his point, and if it's in good faith. So, and another thing that he said that I had to look, you needed police guard. Mother effer, nobody knew about your bullshit study. Who knew about your bullshit study? This is why you got to be careful on each side, the left or the right. These people are trying to manipulate us. Bro, why did you need a police guard? You doing a study. Who knew about your study, my guy? So my only thing is to play the devil advocate. What if he's right? What if he's right? What if they're playing a trick on us and telling us? Because you know what I realized? The news only reports the black people when black people get shot unjustly by the police. I've never seen them. They say, maybe if it happened in Maryland, they will mention it in Maryland. But when a white guy gets killed unjustly by a cop, if it happened in Alabama, Albuquerque, they don't report it in New York. So there's a sensationalization of black death by the news. So I'm just saying, I see where you guys are going with him, not trusting him or whatever. I agree with that. I agree with what Black Steel said, bro. 13% and we're getting killed at the same amount clips, bro. You don't think there's something wrong with that? I would want to see the rest of the video to see what was his point. What is his point? Is he saying that there's no racism bias when when police officers face black people or whatever? And then he said there's something. I think I saw this video. He said that the people told him not to publish it. Like, what is he trying to do? So they told you not to publish. They told you to lie. Why they told you to lie? because they don't want. I guess he's saying that they don't want black people. They want black people to be in a perpetual state of fighting the state racism because it benefits who? Because at the end of the day, bro, even if that's true, black still said something that was mad important. 13%. If you getting killed at the same percentage, there's still something wrong with that. The prisons are overfilled with black people. It's not that there's, even when you look at the prison situation, they're not saying that there's more black people. Are they saying there's more black people in jail than white people? Or are they saying the ratio of black people in jail is more than the ratio of white people in jail? So either way, I don't understand these statistics. I don't know why he put it out there, and I don't think he's being truthful with everything. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate that, Razuli. Last but not least, that takes us to Buana. Buana would say to it all.
Okay, so I can start here because Razuli asked a question. He said that, have you ever seen white people protest for the unjust killing of other white people? And how I would answer that is, I would answer that like this. White people protest differently than black people. And why I would say that? There is an incident that happened in the United States called Ruby Ridge. I don't know if y'all brothers ever heard about that. But the FBI went to an area, I forget, one of these hillbilly states. And they said that there was a family so-called stockpiling weapons. So they rushed in and they accidentally murdered one of the guy's boys, one of his children, a child, little white boy. Then they ended up murdering his wife accidentally. So it was a whole hullabaloo about that. A lot of people was protesting. A lot of people got very angry about that. But from that incident, there was another incident where the FBI, there was a guy named David Koresh in Waco, Texas. And they said that there was David Koresh and in his compound with this organization called the Branch Davidians, they said they were stockpiling weapons. And they ended up killing, the FBI ended up killing a whole lot of white people. I think there were some black people in that too, but a whole lot of white people. So a person who was watching all this was a guy named Timothy McVeigh. And if you know who Timothy McVeigh is, you would know exactly what ended up happening. What was the ultimate result of that? Him being so offended, his way of protesting was a whole lot different. Whole lot different. But I would say this. For the guy, I look a little bit deeper beyond him just talking and moving his mouth. I look at a man who is, in his mind, is teaching at a prestigious, or is a professor at a prestigious university, and he has a young child. He has a young child. So he says to himself, what would make me most comfortable in a position that I am right now? What would secure me or secure this job down? What would be able to give me tenure? And when in the seat that I'm sitting in, this prestigious university, I would carry a line that these so-called liberals at this university want me to say. So I would make my cushion a whole lot softer at this prestigious university. After all, Cornel West did it. Skip Gates did it at the university. Why not me? Why wouldn't I be the next person in line to have a cushy position at this white establishment and be able to say all the nonsense that I want to say, as long as I'm not offending these white folks over here who signing my checks? You know what I mean? I make my situation very, very comfortable. Give me tenure. Because if you ask him the question, not whether police shootings are biased, ask him whether policing in America is biased. Whole lot of, you might get a different answer. And then if you ask him, is the judicial system in America biased towards a particular group of people, you might get a different answer. And then after you ask him, is policing biased? He may say yeah or no. Is the judicial system biased? He may say yes or no. Then how could you reach the conclusion you're reaching in saying that police shootings are not biased? the equation doesn't make sense. So obviously he's coming up with this equation for a reason. If you look at the video, look at how hard Karen, his liberal Karen, was looking him in the face. You know, watching every word. You know, because he knows that if I say something that is affable and white people are comfortable with, they will give me a cushiony job and sign my checks for the rest of my life and ensure that my 7-month-old is going to have a good school and go to good colleges. You don't think the professors will be inclined to do these kinds of things? Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Especially if they're hungry and they're desperate. He coming in a long line of other niggas who do the same thing. Cornel West been talking for years his nonsensical nonsense. As long as he is carrying a particular line, he don't talk about African issues and African affairs. He keep it to whatever talking points the white liberals want to talk about. His position is safe at Harvard University or whatever prestigious white university. Because definitely he don't want to go work to one of them HBCUs, especially Harvard, especially Howard. So he can say what he needs to say, like a rat in a trap. Like the brother say, you know, I take a lot of, yes, you should look at the science. Yes, you should read what he would have written, but also it's important to understand context. Who is writing and why they are writing it, because they don't act outside of the world. They have to live within it. So they can carry their own biases and context and what could happen ifs into all of their writings. All of their writings are biased to one degree or another. And these black folks ain't exempted for telling the truth or telling lies that's going to make them most comfortable. Look at the position that he is in right now. He tried to make a soft cushion for himself, man, so he can spew whatever nonsense he got to spew. And he ain't the only person to do it. That's what I say when I see him. That's what I see in this particular prompt.
So the guy in the video, his name is Roland Fryer. I think I pronounced it for accent earlier. His name is Roland Fryer. Professor of economics, I think, at Harvard University. So look him up. See if he has a white wife. I bet he does. But yeah, everything Buana said is true. You know, I remember when Boyce Watkins first hit the scene. I used to like Boyce Watkins a lot. When he first hit the scene, he was still a professor at Syracuse, and he was talking about the fact that black athletes weren't being paid, and athletes in general weren't being paid, blah, blah, blah. Which ended up working out in his favor, I guess, in his outlook, because they did come up with the NIL deals a few years later. But the thing that turned me off about Boyce, I usually call him Moise Watkins. The thing that turned me off about him, I saw him say something interesting. He said he was watching Eric Michael Dyson. I think I might be mixing up the names. I was watching him, says Boyce. I was watching him talking. Boyce says to himself, you know, I want to be like him. And he said the next day he hired a talent manager. And I'm like, well, damn. These guys are manufactured guys, created guys, sometimes self-created with some help. These guys aim to be what they are. This guy on the screen, he aimed to be this Negro on TV, giving the police, as representatives of white folks, giving them an out. Like he aimed to be here. He has someone who represents him. Because like Azuli said, ain't nobody know about this study. Why do you need police protection? No one in the hood, ain't no one out here knows this guy and this study. Right? But this is manufactured. So this guy aimed to be here. In the chat, Black Steel says, I knew he played in the snow, so I guess they confirmed.
So I got some. Yeah, he's with a white chick, but it says he was suspended from Harvard without pay for 2 years. They closed his lab and barred him from teaching or supervising students, citing allegations of improper conduct. So he finally was allowed to return back to Harvard in 2021, but he was suspended for 2 years.
No, he said he said he was suspended because of that thing. I saw this in most of his interview. He said all the stuff he faced was because he wanted to release this, and the people in Harvard or these other people like BLM did not want him to do that. I think that's what he's talking about. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Did they say what the suspension was for?
You know what? I'm looking it up now. It just said improper conduct. But how if his what would be improper about his study? So it makes me think there's something else. And one thing too about black people, boy, there is money in that conservative grift. So if you ever if you're down in your funds, black people, the way you can make some easy money is to regurgitate white racist talking points. There is money in that. Whenever you come up, look at what's her name, the one chick, Stacey Dash. Stacey Dash. We all know about the Candace Owenses, and we all know about them. There's money in that. What it sounded like, this dude was trying to get his money up. So he makes his study and he gets suspended. Now I don't know if he was suspended for 2 years, which I'm looking to see if that was the reason why he was suspended. But yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, he definitely got a white chick. And look at I'm looking at some of his publications. Let's see. Anti-Israel protests are the problem. DEI is worth saving. America needs real school choice. Yeah, it's all this concern. This is it's a lot of right wing grift that I'm seeing from this dude. I don't believe.
I don't even think they would hire you at Harvard if you're a black dude. If you don't have a white, all of them. Cornell West, I think you have a white Middle Eastern woman. Then you get Skip Gates. He had a white wife. This guy, you wouldn't get hired. I think Michael Ogletree, maybe he's a law professor at Harvard. I don't know if he has a white wife. But that's probably like the only one I know who may not have
a Dubois.
Yeah. And another important point, these guys aren't in black neighborhoods. So like we talked about dealing with our traders, you'd have to go into their neighborhood to get to this guy. That's the thing too. This guy ain't nowhere around the way by any of us.
And that's the thing I wanted to mention. We don't have a track record of taking them kind of because if that was true, why haven't we gone after the man who killed the Zimmerman guy and so many others? It's before we get to him writing an article talking about policing and bias. There are so many people we have to exact revenge on. So why you have security guards? Who is trying to come after you? Ain't like nobody issue a fatwa against you. What are you talking about, brother? Like I said, he's sensationalizing himself. This guy is an egomaniac. Like everybody's sitting around waiting for him to write an article, then read it and say, "Oh, she said this. We gotta kill him." Who says that? Who does that? It's not happening, brother. I mean,
Bowana, you hit it on the nail. I wasn't even thinking about that. Zimmerman's still alive. You're a bum ass. You just wrote an article. Black people are gonna come kill. Yo, this is what manufactured. Not representing the whole truth, just giving you part of the truth and all like that. Like you said, yeah, he's probably he wants to be. He's gonna get tenure. He want all of that. That doesn't even make sense. Who is chasing you? Black people didn't even go after Zimmerman. Black people didn't even go. A black judge hugged the white officer that killed a black man for no reason. Who is this guy? You're right, yo.
Any other last thoughts on this front? All right. Well, that's the show for tonight. I want to thank everyone who was here tonight. Before you guys leave the panel, I want you to give your positive shout outs for the week. But shout out to you guys in the chat as well, everyone who was participant, who I saw here tonight. Shout out to Brother Bakari, who was in the panel tonight as well. Yana B, it was good seeing you back again. Jigan, safe travels. I haven't seen Anthony McPhail in a minute. Hope everything is well with him. Well, actually, I saw him in the Kofi's chat, so I'm hoping everything is well with him. Black Seal, what would you like to shout out this week?
Just want to shout out those brothers and sisters that are in the struggle. I saw what's going on. You know, there was a march for Congo recently. I think it was in New York. So I'm glad they're bringing attention to that issue. I put something in the Discord. Maybe we could talk about it next week. But yeah, shout out to everybody in the struggle, man. We need to keep those brothers in our thoughts.
Appreciate that, Black. So yeah, I saw you posted something about the Congo earlier tonight on the Discord. So we'll talk about that next week for sure. Julius, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to the Kenyans for helping their masters conquer their so-called brothers and sisters. Shout out to the Kenyan. Shout out to all my African brothers who came back and saved us. Shout out to all of them. Shout out to all the Haitians that went to Washington, D.C. and protested against the Kenyan so-called wanting to help Haiti. Shout out. But Kenyan, I'm proud of you. The Kenyan government, we're proud of you. Do your job. You shout out to the Kenyan government for being so keen on helping Haiti. I'm proud of that. Yeah. That's it.
Okay. I hear you on that one, Azuli. I hear you on that one. Afro-Native World says, missed last episode because of the Disney removal. Yeah. F Disney. I'm really trying to do these streams from the website in the future. So I'm researching how to do that now. I'll just use YouTube as promotion for the show. But we could live stream from the website. I think that'll be better for us. Last but not least, Buano, what say you?
Yes. First, let me shout out the brothers who contributed tonight. You know, in the chat and also on the panel. It's the return of Azuli. I had a good laugh with Azuli in a long time, and I clouded for a minute. But it's good to hear his voice. Shout out to all the brothers and sisters. Kofi as well. Kofi, happy anniversary to you for 23 years. That's two decades. 2 decades with a black woman. Much respect. 2 decades with a black woman string. You know, I hope you having a good night with the sister. You know, congratulations to that. Also, let me also say, the Koku gave us some homework for next week. He said that the Discord, in terms of prompts, is looking a little empty. All the brothers them who have different issues that they want to have vetted on the show, you know, let's fill that Discord back up so he could have a replenishment of prompts, so he won't have to be working off a little working shabbily in trying to put prompts up there for us, because we like to talk on different issues and different ideas. So whatever issues that you want vetted, let's replenish the Discord with our agendas and issues and ideas that we may have discussed on the panel. But that's really it. You know, wherever you are, Oni, come up for air from time to time. You know, because I know you. You know, but come up for air and attend the show and give your ideas wherever you are in the world, brother. I hope you're safe. But shout out to all the brothers once again and sisters. You know, doing a great job. My sister is still reading her books. You know, so matron is still doing her thing. So you must listen to the matron. And also, there's another sister who also does good readings as well. Another black sister. Her name is Imuna, EUMUNAH. She also reads as well, and they do a yeoman's job of it. So when you have time, it's good food brain. It's good fundamental brain, brain food. So when you have time, listen from time to time, and if you can, contribute to their efforts and what they do. But I'll leave it there, Koku.
All right, thank you, Buana, Azuliism, Black Steel, Brother Bakari, for being on the panel tonight. We'll be back next week. Until then, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.